Today, excited to bring a guest that is going to be very insightful and helpful for everyone here. He's the executive director of Woodstock Arts. So we will welcome up Christopher Brazelton.
Hey friends, thanks so much for being here today. I think I've got a remote. Okay, so quick pulse check. Actually, who am I speaking to? Let's start there. Who's a part of an arts institution, really quickly? Anyone a part of an arts institution? Okay, who's an artist? Okay, more hands, that's helpful, great, perfect. Anyone, let's see, I think I heard municipality somewhere. Okay, great. Any other connection? Foundation, community foundation, okay, great. Lovely. Well, thank you. Thank you for being here today. I appreciate it. We've been talking for a while now and excited to talk about Woodstock Arts. Always love a chance to talk about Woodstock Arts. Obviously up in, you guessed it, Woodstock, Georgia. And I have had the pleasure of being there for a little over 12 years now. And I've had the pleasure of watching it grow. It is perhaps maybe a little bit different of an animal being in a small town and kind of what we've evolved into and how we engage with our community. And so today, in terms of revenue models, we've come up with some different approaches, and we're just going to share what that can or could look like. And hopefully that's helpful for you. Obviously, I'm speaking for us as an institution, but maybe as an artist or municipality or whatever, that might be helpful for you as well. I think it's Rick Rubin said it best: take what you need and throw away the rest. So that's what this presentation is, and then we'll breeze on through it. And I think Chris is actually going to ask me about some of the slides I had already made anyways. So we'll breeze on through some quick examples, and we'll just lean into the Q&A for that. It's going to go so much better with the Q&A part. All right, great, perfect. Grateful for you guys to be here. All right, so in terms of revenue models, and I did want to quickly pulse check for my artist friends. Are we all okay? Everyone, let's just take a collective breath in together. It's been a week or so now, and so before the events of this last week, we had come up with, let's talk about revenue models. So particularly maybe an unconventional revenue model, so maybe a little bit more relevant than it has been in the past. So here are some quotes, and these are not exaggerated, but I've kind of paraphrased a little bit, just so we can protect anonymity. But here is some quotes that I have heard, and some of them I've said myself in the last, let's say, 2 months. I've heard this in conversations with some of my cohorts of, boy, I just need to adjust my programming all around so I'm actually eligible now for this grant funding. Or, butts in seats is like a normal phrase for us, whether performing arts or coming to a museum and attending, whatever that might look for. And certainly I think, as a nonprofit and as artists, you're not just susceptible to what the economy is doing, you are susceptible to how the economy is perceived, and so giving is down, so I need to cut my budget, and that giving is so relevant to how the economy is perceived, not just what the reality of the economy is. So I think it's safe to say that there's certainly a need for revenue exploration and figuring out what that could look like. So I think of, and in terms of what this task is, being innovative on the business side, I'm going to challenge what revenue can be on the arts side, because it doesn't have to be solely a business challenge. And I would even hopefully show some examples where revenue and finding revenue and how you're connecting with your audience can be fun. It can be creative. It can be artistic. And I would even challenge, and maybe this is my personal feelings coming in here a little bit, being an executive director and admin role. If you ever get to be, or are, if you didn't raise your hand earlier, an admin on the artistic side, you are still an artist. And I hope you hold on to that and protect that kind of spirit. That's needed. We need artistry on the admin side of what we do in our industry, and not just what's on the stage or what's in our exhibits or who's playing music. It needs to happen on the admin side as well. We need that creativity. So I would say, though, that revenue is a design challenge that we can really have fun with it and explore what design, how we create revenue models and how we design them. And I just picked, a few words and kind of thought about, put them in frameworks for what we've done over the last 12 years that I've worked here. But we can diversify revenue. That one is common. I think that's a little bit more commonplace in our vernacular today, that we, as we're trying to figure out what we do, whether that's our personal portfolio or figuring out, I think when I first started at Woodstock Arts, I think we had like 5 income line items. I think we have about 14 to 16 now. Obviously that's diversifying what we're doing, but recurring revenue. That's something that we can reinvent, both on the side recurring for, giving regularly as opposed to, or just the organic side of I engaged, I had a blast, and I'm organically coming back to give. There's or partake in ticket sales or membership or whatever that is. Leveraging revenue, taking the opportunity, and how do I leverage that in multiple ways? Or reinforcing revenue, again, kind of reinforcing that relationship, which certainly brings revenue along the way as well. These are just some words. There are many others as well. And then I think, so just to give you some context about where we have come from and where we are now, I'm going to introduce you a little bit to Woodstock Arts, and then we'll kind of go from there on some Q&A and as well as some thinking. So again, take what's relevant to you, throw the rest out, but I hope that how you think about revenue maybe just shifts just a tiny, tiny bit. So for us, our mission at Woodstock Arts is engage community with relevant art experiences every day. A couple of quick points. We really hone in on engage community as our why. Our relevance is how, and what we do is art experiences. And I think that's really driven some of the unconventional maybe revenue models that you have seen, or you will see, I should say, that for us, and this is correct for Woodstock, this may not be correct for your community. But for us to say, hey, we create excellent artistic experiences, you should come, it just won't work for our community. And so we've really leaned into engaging community and how we're connecting. I believe the next talk is Ariel, and she's fantastic. Is that right? And she's fantastic. So she's got her own great thing on engaged community. I can give you my theories, but here we're talking about revenue today. So this is what we call our engagement ladder, and I've included this from a standpoint because I think it's going to help showcase some of our decisions. So every employee that onboards with us walks through this ladder and gets different examples. It's fluid. There's no rigid, and this program is for our bystanders, and this program is for those that are interested in us. But it does allow us to give kind of our goal of progressing our community members. If we are about engaging community, then we should be creating community members that become engaged in their community. So I will talk about the Reeves House a little bit and how particularly we designed the physical structure of our visual arts center to help with this ladder. But this, and I will say sometimes I get some sticking points. I'll go on a doom scroll every now and then and see some of my lovely fellow arts leaders, and they'll say, engagement is separate from revenue. It can be, but it doesn't have to be separate from revenue. And so they are not mutually exclusive. And so that's why I kind of included this in here to make sure that we're kind of all on the same page, at least how we at Woodstock Arts think about engagement. Oops, sorry. Something that is unique about Woodstock Arts is we are a multidisciplinary arts center. We started as a theater back in 2002, and really we were a family theater back in 2002. Really focused on just educational programming. I think summer camps were actually the first thing. But slowly but surely, we have grown into a multidisciplinary arts center. Why that's unique, and we feel like unique, and the more research that we keep doing, they're not common in small towns. Usually you might have a theater and an arts center in a small town, but they are completely different nonprofits, or one's a part of a municipality program and one's a part of, whatever it might be. But we are a nonprofit with all of these programs under one umbrella. And that is by design. It started at first as we've got to diversify it started as engagement, and how do we link that with revenue. So multidisciplinary started with, we can diversify our revenue through the programs of what we're offering to our community, through connecting with our community in creative ways. So we expanded from the theater into the Lantern series. Our education program grew dramatically. The Lantern series was 2018 it started. 2021, we built the Reeves House. Rebuilt the Reeves House, which is our visual arts center, and Kish Center, which is our pottery center. And then along with the Reeves House, we kind of doubled our education because they have an education component. So it's a much, much larger organization than it was, certainly in 2002. Actually, no, I think I have a graph. Okay, so just so you get a lay of the land, this is Woodstock. There's a laser pointer on this thing somewhere. Yeah, all right, so here is Main Street. So this is kind of like the main corridor. Obviously, at the theater is kind of where we started to move in, but we have a 4-acre lot here that we developed. So we actually partnered with the city. We designed a natural playground right here. This is our event green. And then right next to it is actually in between where these trees are, there's a small historic home called the Kish Center. That's our ceramic and pottery studio. And then the Reeves House is a house that we rebuilt from a historic home. And we have, and again, I'll talk about this in just a second, but a visual arts center in there. Do I get into economics? Yes, I do. All right, so this is just to kind of give you a lay of the land. I think this number isn't interactive on this side, but back in 2011, I want to say we were $114,000 operating budget. We're looking at roughly 1.6 or so operating budget this year, as you can see. And the big jumps, let's see. Yeah, you can see from 2016, we started that Lantern series. It really started to grow here. 2021 coming up is really figuring out the Reeves House and its model as well, and specifically how it could serve the community along the way. And then this is just our data as far as who we're reaching and what that does for economic activity, economic impact along the way as well. I think if we put that together in the Americans for the Arts calculator, it's somewhere around 4.8 economic impact annually, which we're proud of. I'm biased, I think that's a little bit small, but that's fine. We're really proud of what we were able to do. So again, 1.6, hopefully we'll be able to grow. 541 events, 187 classes, different 6-week classes or 8-week classes throughout the year. So the staff is fantastic. They work very hard. Again, just trying to give you some context. Revenue, this is important. According to American for the Arts, the average arts organization, particularly if you're large, you have this endowment piece, but if not, it's 50-50 earned revenue versus contributed revenue. We are not that. Pretty consistently, in fact, I think 2 percentage points has been about the variable from 2011, back when we were 114,000, all the way to 2025. Pretty consistently, we're 80% earned revenue, 20% contributed revenue, which means our contributed revenue is growing every year. But so is our earned revenue as we continue to explore what we can. And from our donors and our contributors along the way, we are very loud about this because we want to be sure that when you give, for us, that dollar is going an extra mile because we're more than matching it at that point from our own operations. I did it. Maybe. Yes. Okay, so revenue. Like I said, it should be fun, creative, artistic. I'm going to give you some quick examples, and then we'll Q&A through it. Oh man, I'm already getting close to time. Did that thing. All right, so this is not a model, but it is simple. So we'll start simple, and we'll give you some quick examples here. But we start with what are we solving for the guest, and our messaging goes into what's in it for you. And I say that because I love a lot of my arts peers, and I'm not picking on anyone in particular. And honestly, we do this on our own social media channel as well. It's like, oh, these guys worked so hard. Come see the show. And that messaging is lovely and endearing for our artists, but there are no stakes for our guests, right? And so we really have to, when we create some of the revenue models that we'll talk about, we're starting with how does this solve a problem for our guest? Or what is our guest going to get out of this? How is our guest better for this? How do we add value? Because we're artists, we have to. We put a fun, creative, artistic lens through it. And then we ask, can we monetize? This flow matters. And if especially in today when we're probably all looking for different revenue models or different revenue sources, if you're going backwards, it will go wrong. I just promise you, out of experience. And I don't even like absolutes, but that one is pretty clear cut. If you're just starting, how can I make money? Which is hard when you're desperate, and sometimes funding's cut suddenly, and you really have to find where that money's coming from. But just try to solve some problems for your guests first. This is our theater. I was going to talk a little bit more, but I think I'd rather get to Q&A. So our theater, I do want to talk about our lantern series. So this is our outdoor, that event green that I was talking about. So on the left here is just some different concerts. I think this one was, I don't know, Lone Bellow, maybe both of these are Lone Bellow. But tabled concert series. I have a few friends out there that have been to some. The idea is not just a concert, but every time you're coming, it's a different genre that we're celebrating, a different culture that we're celebrating. So I think Haley was at Bluegrass. We were at Las Guaracheras from Colombia. So every time you come, but we started with vision, which is going to be important here in a second, especially on how we generate revenue. But we kind of have pitched this. This is not just a concert series. It's a way to find a literal and figurative common ground with our friends and family. You are coming and breaking bread together at the table as you listen to some new culture, some new genre. Oops. We've had festivals along the way. So you see a Dia de los Muertos, the Juneteenth. Art on the Green is our artist market. We do that twice a year. Those have just kind of evolved because we've really built the Event Green as a platform for people to be able to use, whether our own programs like these or people to put on their own festivals. So it's allowing the community to use as a whole as well, which is its own revenue generator, even if it doesn't feel like it in the moment. This is the Reeves House. I wanted to give you two visuals here for how going back to that engagement ladder of how we get a bystander to fully engaged. We designed this when we first built the Reeves House, again, 2021. Up to that point, there was, I don't want to say zero. I don't like absolutes. There were not many visual arts initiatives in the area. There were some, but very, very minimal and certainly not consistent. And so we felt like, and after talking with the community a lot, we need visual arts presence, but B, we don't know if we can get to the point where we're monetizing that or making it sustainable for the community to last or to appreciate it in a lasting standpoint. So we built this as a more, I don't want to say that all art isn't, but the feedback that we got from our community was that I'm not sure if I want to go to a museum or see exhibits. It's a little bit highbrow for me. Remember, we're that small community. So where this picture is, I'm standing on the Noonday Creek Trail, and I didn't show you on the map, but there's just a trail, it's a walking trail that goes on there. And so what we built here, you can see, here's one exhibit, but here's the other. About every 8 weeks, we rotate exhibits. Nationally curated, hyper-local, kind of everything in between. But we also built a small coffee shop here to welcome in a broader community. And that's pretty unconventional. Specifically, we had just built this house, and my board and staff, we went to Chattanooga, and we went to the Hunter Museum. Maybe I'm singling them out, I'm not meaning to. But and we were given a tour by them. It's a fantastic facility, beautiful. And whoever was giving us the tour was like, and this is our cafe. It's a dumpster fire, don't do this. And my entire board turned and looked at me, and I was like, oh no, well, we're in deep on this one, we're gonna go for it. But I think the difference is that this was a handshake with the community first, not, and I think that's that reverse engineering first. For other museums, I apologize I used names, but other museums, it became like, hey, this is something where we can just help monetize after they're already in. This became the handshake that allowed a broader community to come and appreciate. And it comes with its own challenges. I'm not gonna lie with you. Right? It comes with its different challenges and how it relates to visual arts. And also, that's how our community needed it. So that's where you start with your community. What are those needs? Going from there. These are education programs, visual art, and summer camps and theater. Okay, so I made this. This is not a Venn diagram where things overlap. This is if your programs, your community need, or your guest desires, when they overlap, what do you need for it to drive revenue? So this is just a way on the earned revenue standpoint. If you have, let's say, a program that you're producing, and then it meets a guest desire, there's not a lot of messaging. You just need mass distribution. If you have an unknown artist for an exhibit, or you have Andy Warhol coming in. You just need to let people know that Andy Warhol is coming to your exhibit, right? If we're doing, our next season, we have a new show called Seared. It's beautiful. But we also have Mamma Mia. We're just going to let people know that we're doing Mamma Mia. It doesn't mean we're not doing community engagement activities along with that, but it does mean that, hey, this is the goal from a revenue standpoint. But if you have or you can recognize culturally a community need and you have a program that can overlap with it, this is where your board comes into play, community connections, where you're really utilizing your board or your staff or everyone of how we're creating community connections across. And that community connection will help drive revenue because then you're getting participants along the way. And just a quick sidebar on this, and I'm sorry, we're at time, but the community connections in your board, I think there's a new study that just came out as far as driving revenue. If in your board contract you have, required to help fundraise as a bullet point for your board versus in your board contract required or help make connections for the community. The connections for your community actually are, I think it was like 24% higher donation revenue because you're not giving the end, you're just going for the money. You're going for the connection first. So it's just a food for thought there. And then this last one, if you have a community need and a guest desire, what you need is guest-centric messaging or vision to help drive that and connect it with your program, and that helps create revenue along the way. So I hope that's a helpful tool. We're going to skip over this because Chris is going to ask me about sponsorship, coffee shop. Also, it's cut off, so who knows what they say. And then a new membership model that I'm really excited about, but it is a little bit different than what a typical arts institution might offer. So we're going to skip over that. It's great. We'll talk about all of that. Great. So here are some quick questions. Or just lessons along the way as we've been exploring what are some other revenue models. Again, we'll talk about membership, Chris, and we're going to talk about coffee shop and how else that might be leveraging revenue. But here's some questions for you, or at least just some fun things. Just a reminder, guest experience should be fun. And I'm going to jump down here. Yeah, does your employee onboarding include how each person can add value, experience, or revenue? So I have a quick story about this. I did it. I broke it. I really did it. All right, that's great. You can't read these questions anymore. We on our onboarding, has anyone read Will Gadara, Unreasonable Hospitality? No? Guest experience, it's wonderful. It's a beautiful story of how he created 11 Madison Park, the #1 restaurant in the world at the time. And so what we realized is this is just great CX, customer experience, right? And we just need to have this. So everyone from myself and my leadership team down to our event staff that are paid from hourly and tips, everyone is before they can start a shift is required to read this book and several others. And so what happened is I had an event staff at our theater. A lady had come in and she was rushing in and she was coming to see a show of ours, and her granddaughter, I think, was in the show. It wasn't our education program, it was older. It was in the show, and she had just made it from out of town. She just flew in, her flight was delayed. She got in, she just ran in. And so she sat down and was clearly frazzled. So event staff noticed, checked in, said, "Hey, how are you at intermission?" She was like, "I'm great. We made it. I'm so glad I'm here. But I do need to say, I'm just sad because I was going to pick up flowers for my granddaughter." So having just read that, fresh off of onboarding, said, "Okay, I got you." Didn't say anything. Went out and said, can I just have the card real quick? And just bought a bouquet of flowers. Went to Publix, got a bouquet of flowers, came back, and at the intermission, or at the encore, at the applause, just handed it to her and said, "This is for you, enjoy the night," and just left. That was it. That was 3 years ago. To this day, I've gotten a $500 check from her every year. So that's leveraging relationships, and I don't even mean leveraging. I mean just good experience creates long-lasting relationship and revenue along the way. All right, I've rambled. I told you I would. We're going to stop there, and this will be great. And we can ask questions about some of these other programs that we've done. How's that sound? Great. Lovely.
That's
Thanks.
great.
Yeah,
we will. Thank you. That was amazing. It's funny because I literally just told Kaylee as we were setting up here, I was like, everyone should read Unreasonable Hospitality.
Yeah, really? Yeah, it's a great
It will
book.
literally
I love
change the way that you do everything.
It's beautiful.
And then I would add the Fans First book from Jesse
Yeah.
Cole is second on the list of absolutely, if anything of this is interesting. So I wanted to jump onto the idea of can you monetize is at the end of the how to add value conversation.
Right.
And we worked really hard on this and is not part of
that what I
sales
said?
pitch.
Yeah, great.
We don't, for lack of better words, who cares?
Right, yeah.
How do you, and then I wanted to kind of combo that
Okay.
with the engagement ladder of from bringing someone from a bystander to an engaged person. How do you bring those two together where, because it feels really hard to care about the bystander if you're really focused on delivering to that engaged person. You could kind of be off the scale a little bit. If you favor them too much, you kind of disregard the people walking by the path that might only buy a $3
right.
coffee.
Sure. Yeah.
But if you only serve the people who are buying the coffee, or maybe not. So how do you balance all of that you're serving everyone along that ladder where no one feels left out, but then it ultimately goes down that
That's right.
funnel of can we monetize this?
That's
Anything
right.
in there spark ideas for
Yeah,
you?
so going to the Reeves House, we'll talk about the coffee shop. I think it's important to, especially for an arts institution, a lot of times we'll focus on the program, the exhibit, the concert, the theater, and there's so much more value that really any institution, doesn't have to be arts, but any institution can give aside from the thing that they're trying to sell. And for the coffee shop, that's a tool for us. So it became this, instead of, that's not the goal. I mean, the goal is art, right? And the goal is community engagement. And so it really just became, okay, but that's going to be a functional tool to help invite bystander in. And that team is focusing on and understands what stakes are at play. That this might be the first or last time that they're going to enter into an art museum or an exhibit space, depending on how we do this. And so that team understands what's at stake at that point for them. Now, then they see this oil painting and be like, wow, this is really cool. Wait, you have a class on this, and then our education team is able to help usher them along the way. And our coffee shop team, and I still get asked to this day, and maybe I'm just stubborn and incorrect, but it seems to be working. Why would you not just rent out that space and let somebody else run it? Because then we have no say in what the experience is for ourselves, and for our community. And so our coffee shop team, they are connected and active in our theater. They are helping with the Lantern series. They are understanding what the class is. Even if they can't teach the class, they know, oh yeah, I have a relationship with that teacher, and they're able to make that connection. And so I think it helps, everyone has different levels of that engagement, but everyone understands, oh, you're brand new. Yeah, the stakes are high because you're a bystander. And I think the other thing I would say from onboarding of wherever, from a human resources perspective, is connecting the mundane to the mission has to matter. Otherwise, when I'm doing the mundane, it's the mundane. So really understanding why I'm making sure this is really clean, making sure the toilets are clean, or whatever the mundane thing is, understanding what the mission and what's at stake in that moment.
That was great. See some pens go in there. So that means that was really good. So then doubling down on that idea of, the barista at the coffee shop is also integrated into that and kind of encapsulating all of the idea of being a multidisciplinary. You kind of showed, and the map I think was good, and showed you're not just multidisciplinary in that you're doing different things and have a lot of touch points with the community, but you're also collaborating with the city and and the city even giving you the trust to take over some of their public spaces.
Yeah.
So I think that all ties together in that, a person that's working at the coffee shop is included in the rest of the organization, but there's not a bubble around the organization.
Right.
Even it even goes outside, and you're actually integrated into the community. I think that's a hard jump for a lot of arts organizations to make, because they're like, we have a building and we don't really exit into the community unless they come here. So what would you say to somebody like that says, yeah, that sounds great, I don't even know how to ask my town or my city or even my community if we're allowed to go outside of our, they come here at 7 p.m.
Right.
We're not part of the world around that, or we're not part of designing their playground that people come on a Saturday morning.
Right. Yeah, I think, oh, what a good question.
We need more time, I know.
Well, okay, so just connecting, enhancing experience, and revenue, just based off what you said, and being plugged in. You have to be plugged into your community. It's just, otherwise, like, I don't want to say what's the point, because I don't want to be dismissive of other models, but I don't know, just what excites me is not what's on the stage, it's what's happened because of what was on the stage, if that makes sense. But connecting that to revenue, the farmers market now in the city, which is not our program, that's the city's program, they are there on Market Street right outside of our event green. And they started to, hey, how do we elevate this? Well, I'm in that circle enough to hear from that and be like, well, what do you need? What is what are you hoping for? So, and across the street from us is the brewery, which is it's a placemaking gem, if anyone's ever interested in placemaking, because there's a brewery, the art center, the playground, it's all right there. But the farmers market was in need of programming. And so now from an art center, it's easy for us to be like, okay, well, we've got artists, let's work and connect on that front. And then there's a revenue model. And so rather than saying, oh, well, we're just going to just bill you and here's an artist and now it's a transaction. Well, what else can we do? Well, we have this coffee shop here that's just enough far away that sure, some people might go to there from the farmer's market. But we also, being artists, we kind of stuck on, well, we're going to hand make our syrups and all of our recipes along the way. So we've got this beautiful floral menu going into springtime of all of these syrups that we made. So we just rolled our cart out, and on our property, so it's all legal, we started selling mimosas along the way. So now you can literally get your mimosa and just enjoy the farmer's market. Now, where you have an artist, now you went from farmer's market and vendors and whatnot to there's an artist and music in the background, or there's somebody activating a space with even just like something as simple as chalk drawings, And you also have an experience of edible along the way, and this is handmade also by artists. Now you're weaving a story into something which could have been just and by the way, there's revenue along the way. So, because I would love to, but we cannot hand out mimosas for free. So this was just, hey, we've got our you want orange juice, or you want orange juice with hibiscus in there, whatever it might be. So that became, now it's kind of like the thing, like I got to get my mimosa at the farmer's market. So yeah, it's not a bad thing.
I love that, and I think it might hopefully spark some ideas of like maybe an organization has a parking lot that on Saturday mornings does, and maybe a coffee cart comes out. It doesn't need to be partnering with the city if that is hard to do or might take 4 years to implement. Like there's probably a parking lot or a sidewalk or something that you can, again, obeying all of the rules around your thing. But yeah, it can be, I think the important part, like practically and practicing this can be really small and still be really impactful. You said something that like a community hosted events in there. So 2 things on that. Mm-hmm. That sounds like a charity to give back to the community, but you did say, but by the way, it also helps generate revenue.
Yeah.
How do you think about that it does give back to the community, obviously, but you do need to stay in business. You aren't necessarily a charity
we have a bottom line too.
Give back to the community.
Right.
That's a byproduct of what you do. So how do you approach those giving back to the community events or a community hosted events, allowing them to become some part of it?
Sure.
And then how does that, because I'm not sure I'm clear on how like allowing the community to host an event could
Yeah.
spin
Well,
back
so
to you.
just to be, so a couple of different ways. One, we're at that precipice. Woodstock is a lovely town that used to be incredibly grassroots and is figuring out how do we become maybe a little bit more corporate. You know, it's time, we're growing up, so to speak. As a town, as a community, we're still chaotic at the Arts Center, but you get. So I think from this standpoint, we will be proud to partner with a small business that couldn't necessarily afford the green as a traditional, venue rental. If we partner along the way and help them produce the event, and maybe we realize our revenue because we are able to put a bar out there or something like that. Because again, there's a difference between a program which kind of comes and goes, which is valuable in its own right, because I don't know if beauty is ephemeral when we create art. It's lasting. But the other thing, what we do, especially with our structures, our venues, is that these are platforms. These should be third homes for people to gather and be at, and not just be at because of our program. And I think we had to learn that, I want to say the easy way, because we were forced to. It's outside in a very popular area. So we had to figure out, okay, what are the rules that we can all play by? And sometimes that does mean, no, it's a venue rental. But it also means that the bookshop across the street that can't do that, let's help figure out ways where we can partner with them along the way, and they can still have this space. So the yoga studio that wants to do a free yoga class, like why would we not honor that as a neighbor? And maybe it's, hey, can you sponsor our festivals? And in turn, we'll also do this, which I think maybe now's a good time to go into sponsorships.
Yeah, I wanted to maybe touch on
you do anything you want. Never mind. Ask
sponsorships.
anything you
No,
want.
that's great. I think sponsorships, because that'll tie into your creative approach to sponsorship, aka it's more than a logo on a sign out front. And then I do want to make sure we at least touch on the membership, creative membership thing. And then so maybe we'll tie those up, and then we'll
go
make sure there's
so fast
space for any questions that those naturally will.
Definitely. So our just quickly on sponsorships, we actually have for our corporate sponsors like a bullet point. You've got a page. Here's what the Lantern series is, right? And so we have different levels. So rather than you're sponsoring this concert or this show and put all of your eggs in one basket, we used to do that. Didn't work. It was silver, gold, and then presenting for each series: Lantern, Theater, Reeves House, right? All year long. But what we realize is that if we sit down with sponsors, they have needs too, and we can help with that. We can engage well as an arts institution and allow for our sponsors, our small businesses around us, to make this worthwhile for their time, and not just sponsor because it's for the good of the cause, or again, what problem are we solving for them? What's in it for them? And so for Reformation, the brewery that's right across, they'll sponsor, and kind of in return, we help host some of their bigger events that they can't host in their backyard. For Black Airplane, which is a software company that they are the presenting partner for the Lantern series, they don't have a marketing problem. They have plenty of clients. What they don't have, or what they struggle with, is, I'm not speaking for them, they would like, and every software company is looking for employee retention, right? It's just a game of how many times, okay, great. Our staff is going to learn every one of your employees' names so that by the time they're walking into the coffee shop, they're greeted with a name. And we even had an inside joke where Black Airplane is the name of the company. If they walked in and said, "Can I have a Black Airplane?" All that was a black coffee, but everyone knew it, and so everyone was able, to be created. Their employees had a sense of community along the way, was the hope that we were going for, right? I just had a conversation with Goodwood Investment Advisory, which are a presenting partner for the Reeves House. They do events for their clients. We have 541 events. We can do 542 events for them. And I was like, what else do you need? I literally wrapped up a meeting with them before I came here. Do you need anything? What else? So and so forth. I was like, oh, no, we do this every year, and this is the easiest event for me every year, because we just kind of help them do it along the way, rather than their team, which are investment advisors, having to figure out events along the way. So everyone has a different need, and you just have to learn what that is, pay attention, and we actually put in the packet, depending on what level you are, you get a certain amount of creative connections that you get to create and work with us on what problem you need to solve, rather than just, here are the same things that everyone gets. I think we're so obsessed with equality sometimes that we forget that our sponsors, our funders of who we need equity too. And so like the brewery's needs are different than the investment advisory's needs are different than it's just, so just lean in and figure out what that is. And that's how you create community along the way anyways.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot right there. And I think just to kind of double tap on that, it's easy for this room to hear audience experience and serve your audience and think about the people who are buying a ticket. But it's really great that sponsor is an audience member.
That's right.
In a way as well, and you can serve them. Again, it might not be a packet. It might be a question that you ask, how can we make this worth it for you?
Yeah, and I think too, just really quickly, sponsors, I think it's so transactional, and I this is one of those things I keep seeing more and more of arts leaders like on LinkedIn posting like, sponsorship is dying, get rid of it. It's just marketing dollars, and I just don't find that to be true. Maybe it's true for other places, it's just not true for us, especially if you build that relationship. And what's nice is if you have a relationship, they're working for you because they love the place. Like, we give you a table at a Lantern Series. They're inviting new audience members to the Lantern Series. That's new audiences in your space. Optimize on that, and they're doing the work. They're paying us and then doing the work to do it. Why not? Why would we not pay attention to how we can build those relationships better,
Yeah, amazing.
Sorry, that was a little
That was great. To tie this up before we open up for questions from the audience, and I know this could be a whole another hour.
Don't go so fast.
But talk about how you're creatively thinking about the membership models.
Yeah, so we've been really proud of our multidisciplinary approach, and we've talked about that really just to our donors, though, like at the gala. Like, this is not common, and I hope you, Woodstock, are proud of this, help support, keep this happening. And they are, and they do give, and that's fantastic. But engineering it the right way, realizing, hey, what is in it for the user of this? What is in it for people that can participate in it? We realize there's no way to take advantage of that multidisciplinary approach as a user. And so we created a membership model where we looked at our household revenue, like annual household revenue. And so what we did is we created, hey, I can, we're the only industry where we say, please subscribe, and then we opt you out. Like, could you imagine if Netflix opted you out and said, can you please opt in again? Like, why do we do this as an arts sector, right? So opt you in, you pay monthly, you get admission to literally everything that we can come up to. And then you get access to other things, and then you get discounts for other things. And then we started looking at our data of, hey, if maybe on the first 10 households of our top grossing ticket revenue by household for a year, we might lose out on them. But the next 190, $23.99 a month. And if I look at the average household, that's ends up being more. But it's so much worth it because you're getting things along the way throughout the year. And even if you don't go to everything, average audience is usually, I'm coming to your institution. If they come to your institution 3 or 4 times a year, that's a win. They're engaged with your institution. So great, they're gonna come 8 because they're a member and they're not opted out, and we don't beg them to come back every year. And then the other way that we leverage this is that the things that we're going to spend money on regardless, we will do a theater show. We will invest in making that excellent. We will do our Lantern Series concert. We are contracted and going to pay those artists. We are going to do these events and these exhibits at the Reeves House. You have access to that because we've already spent the money on that. And then if they do want additional, they're giving us additional revenue that isn't a loss for us, but it's still a value to them. We have enough people that come to the coffee shop alone that they could just come to the coffee shop and the membership will pay for it. The discounts would. But and then first access to our summer camp. I think people might do more than just pay a membership just to have first access to summer camp, because it becomes popular, right? So this is how can I leverage value on the missional stuff through what else I can offer from a revenue standpoint. And along the way, if the average household is giving us, they come 4 times and they're giving us $200, and now I'm turning that and converting that into $250 just from a membership, plus they come and get beverages. And so we've worked with softwares where you're going to get a card and you get to just come to the show, you scan your membership, and your discount automatically applies. And then what's cool about that, sorry, I said I'd be quick. What's great about that is we get to evolve this. So this is, a couple years from now. The technology that we're working on, you're going to be able to be walking into the Lantern Series. Your ticket is scanned, and because our ticketing system is now connected to our concession system, you'll get a text that says, "You love this bottle of wine. Would you like that waiting for you as you walk?" And it actually beats you to the table. From an experience, that's fantastic, and that's additional revenue. Like you feel, and you're hosting your friends at a table at a Lantern Series, like. They feel better, you feel better, and you've built revenue along the way. And then I was hoping to roll out wholesale membership a little bit down the road, but I've actually already had, senior living homes and other, institutions, businesses that want employee perks for their employees. Hey, can we buy bulk? Can I buy 100 membership? 100 memberships, that's game changing on that price, Even if they pay annually and we discount it, that changes the game. And I think that's, to be transparent, I think this might be challenging if you were, maybe just a concert series or just a theater, but maybe not if you're diversifying that revenue and you can really leverage what that value can be. So, yeah. Sorry, I'll go back to the questions. But
amazing.
Hopefully that. But again, the seat is there. Or for the Lantern Series, how much does it actually cost to put out another chair that you own, right? Cents, right? So sure, members, you get first access, and we didn't actually lose cash from that, not really, but we created value. Thanks.
Thank you so much
Appreciate
for,
Yep.